Welcome to our deep dive into the stark differences between the rich and the poor. Now, you might be thinking, Dada, isn't this a bit obvious? We know the wealthy sip champagne on yachts, while the rest of us make sad desk lunches. And yes, while the visual difference is pretty stark, we're going beyond the superficial. Today, we'll explore 7 key distinctions that highlight the disparities in financial, educational, social, and health aspects. We're talking about the systemic issues that make it harder to climb the economic ladder if you weren't lucky enough to be born a few rungs up. Because, let's be honest, claiming everyone has equal opportunities, like saying everyone in a pie-eating contest has a fair chance, even the guy who started with his face already in the pie. So, buckle up as we dissect these disparities with the precision of a heart surgeon performing a triple bypass on a ticking time bomb. It's going to be informative, potentially uncomfortable, and hopefully a wake-up call for some much-needed change. Let's start with the most glaring difference: cold, hard cash, or as the rich call it, liquid assets. Now, when we talk about wealth, we're not just talking about the numbers in your checking account, which, let's be honest, is probably more like a checking accountability partner for your overdraft fees. We're talking about the assets, the investments, this old thing, Picasso hanging in their second guest house that could solve world hunger but is currently just gathering dust and resentment. The wealthy have portfolios that resemble a Tolstoy novel, long, complex, and probably involving some questionable inheritance practices. Meanwhile, many individuals and families are stuck in a cycle of paycheck-to-paycheck living, where unexpected expenses like a broken refrigerator or a surprise medical bill can completely derail their finances. It's like trying to build a house of cards in a hurricane. Sure, it's technically possible, but it's mostly just stressful and likely to end in disaster. Here's a fun fact that's not actually fun. The wealthy often have multiple streams of income. Think investments, rental properties, businesses, and those royalty checks they get for writing a children's book titled Timmy the Trust Fund Turtle Learns About Compound Interest. It's like having a diversified investment portfolio, except instead of stocks and bonds, it's yachts and private jets. This allows them to weather economic storms with the ease of a duck in a downpour. On the other hand, those living in poverty often rely on a single job, often in low-wage sectors, which, surprise, rarely come with benefits like healthcare or paid time off. It's like trying to sail across the Atlantic in a bathtub, technically a vessel, but not exactly designed for smooth sailing. And let's not forget the gig economy, which promises flexibility, but often delivers instability and a constant hustle just to make ends meet. It's the economic equivalent of juggling chainsaws while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. Impressive, sure, but also incredibly precarious. Let's talk about education, shall we? Now, we all know education is important, like don't eat Tide Pods important, but for many, access to quality education is like finding a parking spot in New York City. Incredibly difficult and often requiring you to parallel park between 2 moving vehicles. Wealthy families can afford to send their kids to fancy private schools with smaller class sizes, better resources, and teachers who haven't resorted to selling their plasma to make rent. These schools often serve as pipelines to prestigious universities, which, let's be honest, are basically country clubs with libraries. Meanwhile, underfunded public schools, often located in marginalized communities, struggle to provide even basic resources. It's like trying to win a cooking competition with only a rusty spork and a hot plate, while your opponent has a team of sous chefs and a flamethrower. It's not about a lack of potential, it's a lack of opportunity. And let's not forget about the crippling student loan debt that saddles many graduates, making it even harder to get ahead. It's like starting a marathon with a 50-pound weight strapped to your ankle. Sure, you might finish, but it's going to be a lot harder and a lot less enjoyable. Let's talk about health, shall we? Because being rich isn't just about having more money, it's about having more years to enjoy it. Wealthy individuals often have access to the best healthcare, nutrition, and wellness resources. They can afford organic kale smoothies, personal trainers who whisper positive affirmations, and experimental gene therapy that will probably make them immortal. Meanwhile, many people struggle to afford basic healthcare, healthy food, and safe living conditions. They're stuck with the medical equivalent of a roll of duct tape and a prayer, hoping their bodies hold up long enough to see their dreams come true. This disparity in healthcare access leads to preventable illnesses, chronic conditions, and a lower life expectancy for those living in poverty. It's like playing a game of Mario Kart where the rich get to start with a golden mushroom and a bullet bill, while the rest of us are stuck with a banana peel and a prayer. The rich often have vast and influential social networks. They attend exclusive galas, charity auctions, and underground cheese-tasting clubs, probably. These connections can open doors to opportunities, provide valuable mentorship, and offer a safety net during tough times. It's like having a VIP pass to the game of life, complete with backstage access and an endless supply of free nachos. In contrast, people from lower socio-economic backgrounds may have fewer connections and resources to draw upon. Their social networks often consist of family members and friends who are also struggling, which, while admirable, isn't exactly the same as having the CEO of Google on speed dial. This lack of access to influential networks can limit opportunities for advancement, making it harder to break free from the cycle of poverty. It's like trying to win a game of Monopoly when someone else owns all the properties and they're using the free parking money to build tiny houses on Boardwalk. Let's talk about the M word, money. Now, money itself doesn't discriminate, but our relationship with it often does. Wealthy individuals often grow up with a different understanding of money. They're taught about investing, saving, and the magical power of compound interest from a young age. It's like learning to ride a bike with training wheels and a helmet full of $100 bills. On the other hand, those who grow up in poverty may not have had the same opportunities to learn about financial literacy. They might not have had someone to teach them about budgeting, investing, or the dangers of payday loans. It's like trying to navigate a financial obstacle course blindfolded with one hand tied behind your back while being chased by a debt collector dressed as a clown. This lack of financial literacy can perpetuate the cycle of poverty, making it harder to build wealth and achieve financial stability. Let's talk about credit, shall we? It's that magical number that determines whether you can buy a house, get a loan, or rent a car without having to put down your firstborn child as collateral. The wealthy generally have an easier time accessing credit, and often at lower interest rates. This allows them to leverage debt to their advantage, invest in assets, and grow their wealth exponentially. It's like having a credit card with no limit and a cashback program that rewards you with private island getaways. However, individuals with lower credit scores, often due to factors beyond their control, like low income or limited credit history, face higher interest rates or even outright denial. They're stuck in a catch-22. They need credit to build credit, but they can't get credit because they lack credit. It's like trying to win a limbo contest where the bar is constantly being lowered and you're also carrying a refrigerator on your back. So there you have it, 7 stark differences between the rich and the poor. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions, but recognizing these disparities is the first step towards creating a more equitable society. Addressing these disparities requires systemic changes, including improved access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities for all individuals, regardless of their financial background. It's about leveling the playing field, not by taking away from those at the top, but by providing a hand up to those who are struggling to climb the ladder. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Because awareness without action is like having a gym membership and never going. It makes you feel good about yourself, but it doesn't actually change anything.